The vineyard and all assets of Hart Cellars are bequeathed to my daughter, Olivia Hart.
16-year-old Olivia sat rigid in her chair, her hands clenched so tight the knuckles had gone white.
Dad left it all to me. He believed I could do it.
This is a mistake. She's a child. This vineyard will be sold.
The man who spoke was Joshua Hart, Olivia's cousin, 42, and already on his feet, his face flushed above the collar of his pressed shirt.
I am filing to override the will. Sterling Vineyards has already made an offer.
The will grants a trustee authority until she turns 18. My office will delay any sale for one growing season.
1 season. 12 months for a 16-year-old to prove she could run what her father had spent 3 decades building.
I am not selling. I'll run it myself.
You'll fail. And when you do, that land will be ours.
2 days after the will reading, Olivia walked to the family vineyard. The 30 acres her father had worked for 3 decades. The vines were just breaking into leaf, the soil still cold from winter. She stopped at the first row and touched a twisted trunk.
He touched this same wood 1,000 times.
The cellar beyond the barn smelled of damp oak and yeast. A light was on, even though it was midday.
You are the daughter. I saw your face at the reading.
I need your help, Marco. I know you were loyal to my father.
Loyal enough to stay when the cousins wanted me gone. But you are a child.
Then teach me. Give me 1 season like the trustee.
Marco studied her for a long moment. Then he walked past her, out into the sunlight, and gestured toward a distant corner of the vineyard.
This block, your father's secret project. A field blend he believed could be great. If you want to save this place, start here.
For weeks, Olivia worked alongside Marco, her hands blistering, her shoulders aching, but she didn't miss a single lesson.
He'd be proud if he saw me now, but proud won't save the vines.
The calluses came quickly. By the 3rd week, her fingers could snap a shoot exactly like Marco did. That afternoon, Joshua appeared at the edge of the field, a folded paper in his hand.
60,000. Sterling's offer. Cash. You sign, and this entire lawsuit vanishes.
You want me to sell my home for 60,000.
It's more than fair. The vineyard's debt-ridden. Take the money and walk.
You know what it's worth to me. There's no price.
That's a child's answer. The court will force a sale, and you'll lose everything.
She didn't watch him leave. She walked to the tasting room and stood among the silent bottles, her father's handwriting still on the labels. The next week, a black sedan pulled up to the vineyard. The man who stepped out wore an expensive suit.
Miss Hart, I am Gerald Sterling. Let's be direct. Accept the offer now, or my legal team will bury you in court.
I've already said no. The answer isn't changing.
You think this vineyard can compete? You are a child playing farmer. We'll own this land before the year ends.
Sterling left without another word, his threat hanging like a storm cloud over the vines. 2 nights later, a late frost settled over the valley. Marco found Olivia in the vines at dawn, her jacket frozen stiff.
This frost could have killed the buds, but your father's field blend block is hardier. We may still have a crop.
Then that's it. That's the wine I'll make. The field blend and nothing else.
It's a risk. The wine will be young, unfinished, but it has your father's soul.
She would stake the entire season on a single field blend. Either it saved the vineyard, or there was nothing left. By midsummer, the leaves in the lower block began to curl, a fine gray powder dusting the green.
It's powdery mildew. If it spreads to the fruit, we lose everything.
What do we need? Tell me what to do.
Sulfur spray, but the sprayer is broken, and we have no credit at the supply store.
The next morning, the bank called. The vineyard's line of credit had been frozen, citing the pending lawsuit.
I heard about your credit troubles. Having second thoughts yet?
You did this. You got the bank to freeze our credit.
The judge won't wait forever. When you default, this vineyard is ours.
That evening, desperate, she went to the old equipment shed where her father kept his personal files. She found a leather-bound notebook. On the first page, her father's handwriting, "The field blend is the key. Joshua must never know." She read through the entire night, the notebook's pages dense with her father's slanting handwriting.
The exact ratio of grapes, the fermentation temperature, the oak regimen. He planned every detail.
On the final page, a single underlined sentence. This wine will speak for itself in one season. Trust it.
Marco, look at this. He wrote down everything. We can actually do this.
Your father was a genius, but a wine this young will be judged harshly.
Then we'll let it speak for itself. We'll enter it in the regional blind competition.
Marco stared at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded.
If you are willing to risk everything, I will help you bottle it.
This is it. The one chance Dad left me.
That night, they began planning the bottling. The lawsuit still hung over them, but for the first time, Olivia had a weapon. The next morning, Olivia and Marco began crushing the first of the field blend grapes, their hands stained purple in the cold cellar light.
We'll need more yeast by next week. Can we still get it on account?
I will call the supplier. They know me.
But when Marco called, the supplier's tone was flat. He'd heard the vineyard was near bankruptcy, and credit was no longer an option. Later that day, Joshua stood in the supply store, smiling as he talked to the owner.
That little girl is going to lose the vineyard. I wouldn't extend her a dime.
I sold my father's watch. It'll cover the yeast and corks.
He would understand.
They ordered the supplies and continued. The wine fermented in old barrels, and Olivia checked it every morning, her father's notebook always at her side. But the lawsuit papers remained stacked on the desk, a countdown she could feel in her chest. The wine was still young, raw in the barrels, but the competition entry deadline was 3 weeks away.
This wine needs 6 months to settle. Entering it now could ruin its reputation before it's even born.
Dad's notes say it'll be ready in 3. The competition is in 2. We have to trust him.
They stood in the cellar, the old man's lifetime of caution against the girl's desperate faith in a dead man's words.
Your father was an optimist. I am a realist. If this fails, no one will ever remember Hart Cellars.
If I don't try, there won't be a Hart Cellars to remember.
Marco finally nodded, and together they rolled the small barrels to the hand bottling station. 6 bottles. That was all. She labeled each by hand, the ink still wet from the press.
This is the moment. Everything leads to this.
The wooden submission box was small, but it carried the weight of 3 decades. She placed the box on the counter, and the clerk stamped it with a number, nothing more. Outside, the competition hall was filled with winemakers twice her age, their labels gleaming under the lights.
None of them know who I am. That's the point.
On the way out, Joshua was waiting by the door, arms crossed, a familiar smirk on his face.
I heard you entered. Did you bottle it in a mason jar?
The judges won't see the label, just the wine.
The judges are irrelevant. The lawsuit hearing is in 10 days. This land is mine.
That morning, a legal notice had appeared on her desk, the court date circled in red.
He thinks it's already over, but the wine is still in play.
She walked back through the vineyard rows, the entry complete, the trial now a countdown. The morning of the judging, Olivia couldn't eat. Marco sat across from her in the empty tasting room.
They're tasting it right now. I can feel it in my chest.
In the judging hall, a panel of 5 experts sat behind numbered glasses, their expressions unreadable as they worked through the flights. Each glass was swirled, sniffed, and spat. The faces gave away nothing. Her wine was just a number among 30 others. The judges saw only dark liquid in a glass.
Your cousin is probably already drafting the deed transfer. He doesn't believe in miracles.
He doesn't have to believe. The wine will speak for itself.
Behind the closed doors of the judging room, one expert held up a glass to the light, frowning at the color. Another judge made a note, her pen scratching slowly across the score sheet. The tasting ended without a word. All they could do was wait for the announcement in 3 days. That night, sleep wouldn't come. She pulled out her father's notebook again, thumbing past the wine recipes. The 12th of March. Joshua came again. Offered $40,000 for the whole vineyard. Told him no. He said I was a fool. The 5th of November. Joshua offered again. Same low number. He's not thinking of Olivia. He never does. The dates were from 5 years ago, and again 2 years later. Both times, her father had refused him.
He's been trying to steal this vineyard for years. He doesn't just want to sell it, he wants to own it.
She closed the notebook and stared at the lawsuit papers across the room. Now she understood.
This was never about the corporate label. It was about him.
She pressed the notebook to her chest, her heart pounding. The truth was a weapon, but she couldn't use it yet.
The wine has to win. Then I'll show everyone what he really is.
The competition results were now about far more than the vineyard. They were about justice. The next day, a black sedan pulled into the vineyard again. This time, both Joshua and Sterling stepped out.
The judge will rule in 48 hours. Sterling is offering 80,000. Final offer.
This is your only escape. After the ruling, you'll get nothing.
You think this is about money? I've read things you don't know about.
What are you talking about?
Just leave. The vineyard isn't for sale, not to anyone.
Sterling looked at Joshua, but Joshua's eyes stayed fixed on the closed door, something sharp and uneasy in his expression. The car pulled away, but the lawsuit papers still sat on Olivia's desk, the date circled in red.
They think they've already won, but I have a weapon they don't know about.
The competition results would be announced in 2 days. Then the judge would decide. The courtroom in the county courthouse was small, the air heavy with old wood and silence. The corporate attorney rose, his voice clipped and precise, laying out the vineyard's debts and the child's inexperience. The judge, a stern woman with reading glasses, looked down at Olivia, her expression unreadable as she scanned the files.
Your Honor, the will is clear. The testator trusted his daughter, and the law grants her that right.
But the judge's pen tapped against the file. She asked about the vineyard's current profits. Arthur hesitated. The numbers were damning. No profit, frozen credit, a single harvest left. Joshua was called to speak. He stood, adjusting his jacket, his voice calm and rehearsed.
I only want what's best for the family. The corporate buyout would save the employees, the land.
Olivia felt the gaze of the courtroom like a weight. The trustee's hands were still on the table. The judge removed her glasses and leaned forward. The court would take a short recess before ruling. The moment the judge called recess, Olivia grabbed Arthur's arm and pulled him into the hallway.
Arthur, my wine is in the regional competition. The results are tomorrow. If you tell the judge, she might postpone.
It's a gamble. If the wine loses, the judge won't be merciful.
It's the only chance we have.
When court resumed, Arthur stood, his knuckles white on the table. In the hallway, Marco twisted his hat in his hands, waiting.
Your Honor, Miss Hart has entered her debut vintage in the regional blind competition. Results are expected tomorrow.
The judge's pen stilled. She looked from Arthur to Olivia, a glint of interest in her eyes. Joshua's attorney shot to his feet, objection ready, but the judge raised a hand, silencing him. Her voice was calm but final. The court will reconvene in 1 week. By then, this wine will have spoken for itself. The gavel came down. Olivia exhaled. Every hope now resting on 6 bottles in a cold competition hall. Back at the vineyard, the days crawled. Olivia moved through the rows like a ghost, the notebook never leaving her side.
You've done everything you could. Now the wine is on its own.
But what if it's not enough? What if everything ends here?
One night, she opened the notebook to the worn pages her father had touched 1,000 times. His words were still there, steady.
I have friends on that judging panel. A little donation can go a long way. Bet on the sure thing, Olivia.
You'd stoop that low? It doesn't matter. I trust what my father made.
Joshua left without another word, his smirk gone. He'd never seen that look in her eyes. The morning of the announcement, fog clung to the ground. Marco started the old truck, and Olivia climbed in, clutching the notebook. They drove in silence. The only sound was the gravel under the tires and the weight of 9 months of hope.
This is it. Everything comes down to this morning.
The competition hall was crowded, but Olivia saw them immediately. Joshua near the front, Sterling beside him, their expressions smug.
They're already celebrating, as if they know the result.
She and Marco found seats near the back. The announcer began reading winners in other categories, each name a slow drip of time. Her hands were ice, the notebook pressed against her ribs. Then, at last, the announcer held up a single envelope. The room fell silent. And now the award you've all been waiting for. Best in Show. She tore the seal slowly, then looked up at the crowd. This year's Best in Show goes to a debut vintage from. The name hung in the air, just out of reach. Olivia's blood roared in her ears.
Please, please let it be us.
Marco gripped his hat so hard his knuckles were white, his lips moving in a silent prayer. The silence stretched, impossible and endless. And then the announcer's lips moved again. And then the name came, Hart Vineyard. The words sliced through the room like a blade.
That's us. That's really us.
For a frozen second, nothing moved. Then a wave of noise broke, gasps, and ragged applause spreading through the hall.
Number. It can't be. There's no way.
Sterling's mouth opened, the smug certainty wiped clean from his face.
You did it. Your father's wine. You did it.
Her name was called. Olivia rose on trembling legs, the eyes of the entire room on her as she walked to the stage. The gold medal was placed around her neck. She held it, the medal still cool, and turned to face the standing ovation. Through the blur of light and sound, she saw them. Joshua frozen, Sterling stunned, the vineyard's future suddenly held in her hands.
This is for you, Dad. We kept it.
Outside the competition hall, a swarm of reporters pushed forward, microphones extended. Then, a woman in a sharp suit cut through, her hand already reaching out.
Diane Bennett. I distribute wines across 3 states, and that blend of yours is the most exciting debut I've tasted in years. 4-year contract, premium pricing, full advance.
4 years guaranteed. We could pay off every debt. This could actually save the vineyard.
She took the pen, her fingers steadier than they'd felt in months. She signed her name on the line, and Bennett shook her hand as the cameras erupted. By the next morning, the story had gone national. Headlines read, "Teen winemaker stuns industry." Olivia turned and found Marco right behind her. She buried her face in his shoulder.
Your father would have cried, ragazza.
But the lawsuit wasn't over. This was one victory, not the war.
48 hours after the contract was signed, Arthur Webb called with news that changed everything. The judge had received the press clippings. "The lawsuit is dead," she said. No court would force a sale now. Joshua's attorney filed the withdrawal that same morning, and the case was closed. But by noon, a familiar car was parked by the barn, its engine still ticking.
I've come to make things right. Let's be reasonable, Olivia. With your talent and my business sense, we can make this vineyard a fortune. Let me manage it for you.
He smiled, the same smile he'd worn when he'd offered her $60,000.
Manage it. Control it. He hasn't changed at all.
Don't listen to him, Olivia. He is a snake of the worst kind.
Olivia looked at Joshua, then down at the notebook, still clutched in her hand. She opened it slowly. She read aloud, her voice steady as stone. The words fell onto the quiet vineyard like a judgment. The 12th of March. Joshua came again, offered $40,000 for the vineyard, told him no. He said I was a fool. The 5th of November, Joshua offered again. Same low number. He never thinks of Olivia.
That's a lie. She's making it up.
It's his handwriting, his notebook. You tried to steal this vineyard twice before you decided to sue for it.
Joshua's mouth opened, but no excuse came. He looked at Marco, then back at Olivia, his face draining of color.
I don't need your management. I don't need you at all. You are not welcome here. Leave.
He stood frozen for a long moment, then turned and walked away, his steps uneven on the gravel.
He will not come back. The truth is, the kind of mirror a man like that cannot face.
She closed the notebook. The lawsuit was over. The vineyard was hers, and Joshua's name would never be spoken inside Hart Cellars again. A week later, a letter arrived from Sterling Vineyards. The corporate office formally withdrew its purchase offer, conceding the vineyard was no longer available. The legal files were closed, the stamped withdrawal final. Olivia dropped them into a drawer and never looked back. That afternoon, Marco brought a visitor to the vineyard, a girl with dark curly hair and the same steady hands, his granddaughter Elena.
Olivia, this is Elena. She has the nose for wine and the heart. Let her learn from you.
I've heard everything about what you did. I want to be part of it. If you'll have me, you are hired. We need all the help we can get. 2 of us now, the same age, building something new on old ground.
They stood among the vines, the old cellar master behind them, and the vineyard stretched into the sun.
Your father would like this. All of you together.
And with that, the future of Hart Cellars was no longer a question. It was a promise. That evening, Olivia walked alone into the cellar. The air was still cool, the barrels silent. She set her father's old photograph on a barrel, the one place he'd always stood when he tasted the field blend.
You were right, Dad. The wine did speak for itself.
For a long moment, the cellar was silent. Then, from the door, Marco's voice came softly.
He knows. Ragazza. He always knew.
Elena appeared behind him, her face quiet, understanding. The 3 of them stood for a minute, the past and the future together. Then, they walked out into the last light of the day. Olivia looked over the rows, the vines heavy with next year's promise, the metal heavy on the bottle in her hand.
This is ours now. All of it.
And the vineyard stretched on, ready for whatever came next.